Good morning. This is Elise Bowie with Elise Bowie Family Law Group. And I wanted to talk to you today about mindset. I know you hear a lot about mindset, and some people, really embrace the changes and the self-introspection, and other people are like, I don't think this is going to make a bit of difference. And I have to tell you, mindset makes all the difference. I mean, it is the difference between living your best life and being a victim of somebody else all the time. It's also the difference between having total power and control over what you're doing and how you're feeling versus, being kind of buoyed around in the water and constantly dealing with other people's ups and downs and letting your emotions go all over the place. And so I want to talk to you about divorce and mindset. I mean, one thing that we come across, all the time in our practice has to do with people who, feel like they're the victim of the divorce. I mean, maybe their spouse cheated, or maybe there was some other abuse that went on, in the relationship, and they feel very victimized by it. Well, that victimization continues on through the divorce process in many cases, and will continue on post-divorce, which in my mind is the most tragic thing of all. I think that it is so imperative for people to get the right mindset, which, might require some real work. I mean, you might need to go to a counselor, you might need to go to a coach, you might need to do a lot of thought work to help you get out of this victim mindset. But once you do, I mean, everything looks different. I was actually on a podcast yesterday, my podcast. If you haven't listened to it, the Maximum Mom podcast, it's mostly for, moms, law firm owners, and entrepreneurs. But I was talking to a guest who similarly, runs a law practice in Connecticut. And we were discussing the reality of how this victim mindset plays out and how you can make a few tweaks and actually change it. And they're very simple tweaks. When you think about somebody who is fighting for every penny of their spousal maintenance or alimony, as it might be called in other places, and they're, literally doubling down on $25 a month. And that's like the make it or break it thing that's going to, make them okay or not. I mean, obviously it's not. And the thing is, teaching people, instead of asking the question like, how am I going to get more money from this other person who has victimized me? You need to ask yourself, what can I do to fix this? And what can I do to make this work? I mean, whether that's earning another $25 or earning another $25,000 a month, or whether that's looking at your expenses and cutting back on something that is absolutely meaningless. I mean, there's a bazillion different ways that you can solve the problem. But when you stay in a victim mode, you're never trying to solve the problem. You're just trying to penalize and punish the other person. And you're somehow trying to make yourself feel better, if somehow you can show the universe that you've been victimized. And it's really self-defeating. And I think that people need to sometimes hear some very brutal truths about their own behaviors and their own attitudes when they are going through the divorce process, because if not, they'll continue on with this mentality and things do not get better on their own. I mean, you must make conscious decisions to fix this. And I think that, I mean, I look at my own situation when I divorced and, my ex, where we had child support obligations, spousal maintenance, college kind of obligations, all kinds of things. And I used to, literally pick at him every month and be like, you haven't paid your child support, or you haven't done this, or you haven't done that. And it got to the point where I realized like it was making me an angry person. It was making me a nag. And it was silly. I was like, I mean, I have the same degree this person has. Like, okay, he's going to do what he's going to do. I can't fix that, but I can go do what I need to do to solve the problem. And so I did that, and problem solved. I don't nag at all about anything. And it has truly, I mean, it's been game changing for our co-parenting relationship. I mean, do I have all kinds of things to say and think about, how that works out and whether that's the right way to do it and all those things, of course. But I mean, instead of just living for the last, 10, 15 years angry, upset, and always trying to, eke out something out of a turnip. I mean, I just decided that I was going to look to myself and myself alone to solve the problem. And by doing that, I mean, I'm empowered to both solve the problem, and if I mess up, then it's my bad. And it's a lot easier to fix your bad than it is to fix somebody else's bad. I mean, I make so many mistakes, and obviously I can grow from those, learn from those, and make changes, but I can't force somebody else to make those changes. And so I think that you must think about, how can you think about every question you're asking, that you're turning it on to yourself, and you're asking yourself, like, what can I do to fix this? And on kind of a separate note, but kind of the same note, when you're asking those questions, a lot of times I think we are we are taught to ask the question, how can I blah, blah, blah? How can I get this done? How can I get that done? And really, the better question is, who can help me get that done? You need to think of who, not how. If you're spending all your time in the hows of everything, I mean, you're literally limited by whatever your capabilities are. And I mean, I don't want to be limited by my capabilities, that's for sure. I want to be able to expand what I can do. And by doing that, I can do that through other who's that have expertise, knowledge, interest in areas that go way beyond me. And a lot of times people think who's are expensive and they can't get a who. You can get a who for almost anything, anywhere. I mean, and now with the internet and social media, I mean, you can get who's all across the world. If you can put your vision down and it can be clear of what you want to accomplish, you will find a who that can help you accomplish that. Talk about empowering, not only when you look to yourself to solve your problems, then you look to other people to help you put in place whatever you want to put in place. And you have now just multiplied your ability to get things done. And so really, mindset is everything. I mean, make a few small tweaks every single day, and it takes practice. I mean, one thing we were talking about yesterday in the podcast, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and I did an entire podcast episode on meditation, being able to ground yourself. So if you find yourself kind of spiraling out of control or feeling anxious, you can meditate and just ground yourself. I mean, and I could do a whole thing on meditation, but I mean, you can look up, there's a website called A Brilliant Legal Mind, and Claire Parsons does guided meditations that you can find on there, and I find them very helpful. And Claire is just, she's a very compassionate attorney and mom who will help you understand meditation and how it can really help you. And so really, I want to encourage everybody to make a few tweaks, change their mindset, look inside, figure out how you can empower yourself to solve the problem. Don't be a victim. Don't give away your power to other people. You're over that. You're done. You're getting divorced. Don't let that person have any power over you. They should have no power over your emotions, no power over your thoughts, and no power over your actions. Let it go. Okay, I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks.